Warning, the following review contains jokes about a politician. Viewer discretion is advised. In the 1970s, the son of a very wealthy family is taken under the wing of the ruthless attorney, Roy Cohn. Roy sees the young man as a worthy protege and teaches him the skills he needs to be successful. Little does Roy know, he may have given those skills to the wrong person. Because just who is this young man? The one and only Donald Trump. You know, I could stop it right here. I could write this one off. I'm doing that a lot nowadays. Fuck it, we ball. This is The Apprentice. The Apprentice is a biopic about Donald Trump, but it's not what you would expect when you hear biopic about Donald Trump. It's a film about Donald Trump becoming the rich billionaire we all know and... Now, when Donald Trump announced his running in 2015, that was when I became a little bit more politically aware. And by that, I mean, I just listened more to the news. Because if you can believe it, I wasn't the news type as a kid, because who was? So I have been following his political escapades for the past 9 years. And I've made a few jokes in those 9 years. I've written them down, too. So I hope you're okay if I pull some of those jokes out in this review. One way or another, I'll never get to use these jokes again, so let me have it just this once. But just how is The Apprentice? It's actually quite good. Excellent, even. It shows Donald Trump's rise to become the man we reluctantly know today extraordinarily well, and Sebastian Stan's performance is fantastic. This, quite frankly, was an October surprise like no other. Yes, you heard me right. Sebastian Stan is playing Donald Trump in this film. He is no stranger to playing Russian and Nazi assets. But the way he portrays Donald Trump is unlike anything we've ever seen for this historical figure. Because like it or not, he is a historical figure. Normally when people portray Donald Trump on Saturday Night Live or any late night talk show, they kinda talk like this and they have very exaggerated hand movements and more or less sound like a Mr. Burns meets Patrick Starr kind of voice. And that's exactly what Sebastian Stan's performance isn't in this film. And that really elevates the film to being something a lot more than a political hit piece. Sebastian Stan stays away from the cartoony side of Trump impersonations by making him a bit more human here. And by a bit, I mean a bit, because he is still quite menacing and sleazy in this film. And Jeremy Strong is also fantastic as Roy Cohn. He kind of had the Kubrick stare on lock in this film. And every line of dialogue spoken from him is great. I would not be against seeing either of these fantastic performances nominated for Best Actor and Supporting Actor at the Oscars next year. But I know who wouldn't be watching. Also, it's worth mentioning Maria Bakalova as Ivana Trump, who is also fantastic in this film. Every actor in this film is fantastic, but I really wanted to mention her because I found a connection that makes me, as a Marvel fan, laugh really hard. We've already established Sebastian Stan playing Trump and the Winter Soldier. That's funny on its own, but also Maria Bakalova plays Ivana Trump and Cosmo the Space Dog. I don't quite care for the mental image that puts in my head, and I don't think you care for it either now, do you? I also really dug the aesthetic of the movie. It has a smaller aspect ratio on top of some film grain that really makes it look like a news broadcast from the 70s and 80s. I was quite a big fan of that. Now, it is no secret that Donald Trump did not want this film to be released, going as far as to send the filmmakers cease and desists, which was quite funny because for a while, this movie's not that harsh against him. I've seen political ads harsher than 70% of this movie. And then the film took a turn and, oh boy, I can see why he wanted this film buried. There's one scene in particular I had to look up to see if it had some actual merit to it, because the last thing I want to do is come on here and praise a movie that is factually wrong. But lo and behold, there are some court documents that suggest this probably happened. This film is quite harsh on the character of Donald Trump, and that can definitely make or break the movie for you. It is worth noting that this film does not touch on anything about Donald Trump's life in the political sphere. Other than a little throwaway joke about him running for president, this film takes place firmly in the 70s and 80s. So the film isn't political in that regard, even though I imagine anything Donald Trump related at this point is inherently political. I could literally come on here and say, oh, I hate Home Alone 2. I love Home Alone 2 for the record. And someone would come at me and say, oh, because Donald Trump's in it? Perhaps that's an over-exaggeration. But you know, people are crazy like that. Speaking of crazy, I would be more than okay with them making a sequel with Sebastian Stan as Trump through his political and presidential years. The crazy part being the fact that I would want to watch that. Maybe in like a decade or so, I'd be okay with it then. Now, this is a weird film to try to recommend to anybody, because there are like 3 different kinds of people in America right now. People who hate Donald Trump, people who love Donald Trump, and people who don't give a shit one way or another. If you recommend it to the people who hate him, well, they're not going to watch a movie, even one that's nuanced about the guy, because they just really don't like him. Why would they watch a movie about someone they don't like? And that's a fair thing to say. And recommending it to someone who loves him, well, that's another thing too. Why would they watch a movie that isn't the equivalent of some crappy Photoshop of Trump's head on Superman's body? Character break, I fucking hate these. I say this with all due respect. If you love Donald Trump, love him for who he is. And don't sully the good name of Superman, Captain America, or the Punisher. Sorry, I just had to mention that because it really bugs me. Because, like it or not, those characters would not align there at all. You can have Homelander, though. That one's actually pretty on point. And then there are the people who don't care one way or another. They probably just don't care to watch the movie, just like the people who love him or hate him. Simple as that. So just who is this movie for? People who don't live in America. That's who. This is a film that probably would be a lot more appreciated in any other year that wasn't an election year featuring the guy who's the main focus of this movie. But that said, the film is still great with a fantastic performance. It is well worth the watch when taking out any form of politics out of the equation. But again, I completely understand how hard that may be for a lot of people. Originally, I was going to theme this review around clowns, because I can make it a clown trilogy with Joker 2 and Terrifier 3. But then I thought to myself, maybe it's not the most responsible thing for me to come on here and directly say that the Republican nominee for president is a clown. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to come on here and say that he wears a lot of makeup, too much makeup maybe, much akin to a clown. I'm not going to come on here and say he says a bunch of silly things, much akin to a clown.
Is that the cat?
In Springfield,
No,
they're eating the cats. They're eating the pets.
I'm not going to come on here and say he does a silly little dance, much akin to a clown.
Is he skiing? Or is he in a gay porn? Is he skiing? What? Or is he in a gay porn? Is he skiing? Huh? Or is he in a gay porn? Here's a hint. He's in a gay porn.
Ain't I a stinker? Hey Republicans, if you've made it this far in the video, here's your reward. A Joe Biden joke. Knock knock, who's there? I hope you all enjoyed this review, even if it kind of became a roast there at the end. But I'm never going to get to do it again, so let's just say this is for an old time's sake kind of thing. But either way, if you liked this review, please consider hitting that like button, and if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to be notified when my next review drops. I promise the next one will not be political. I will not be doing a political one anytime soon. Until next time, I'm Quentin Dunaway, hoping you will keep it cinematic.